Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for Monday, March the 25th. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram, I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. That was a bit of a rough one last night. The Vancouver Canucks got shut out by the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-0. Columbus showing that they are desperate, that they need to make the playoffs. They're fighting to make the playoffs, and they played like it. They took it to the team, took it to Vancouver, that is. And it was really disappointing that Vancouver had such a lackluster effort, especially compared to the effort that they had Saturday night when they lost 3-1 to the Calgary Flames. And maybe that's kind of the point, is they didn't have a lot left in the tank on a back-to-back. Although it was at home, it was back-to-back, of course. And you could tell some of their best skaters. I was watching them. I was at that game. I was in some really great seats, courtesy of the Canucks. My last home game of the season, as I'm going out of town later today, and I'm not checking, so I'll be missing the next 4 home games. But you could tell that, watching Horvat, Pettersson, Boeser, Virtanen, even all the best players and best skaters, I should say, for the Canucks, they didn't really have it. Berchi returned to the lineup, didn't move the needle. Well, obviously, no one moved the needle. The Canucks didn't score. So Berchi's return, Goldobin's return, Pouliot's return, very, very non-eventful. They didn't really move, like I said, have a big impact. The one guy who was noticeable was Luke Schenn. 12 hits for the Canucks. And it started off when Anderson, stapled Edler to the boards very early in the game. And Luke Schenn was the one who was standing up for not only Edler, but for the rest of his team. Like I said, 12 hits over the game, and he was very noticeable. I think a couple of shifts, he had 2 or 3 hits, multiple hits on one shift. Schenn has played really well, actually filling in with all the injuries on the back end. Does he come back as a 6th, 7th, 8th defenseman? I sure hope so. I think he's more effective than a guy like Biega, than a guy like Pouliot for sure. So we'll see what happens with Luke Schenn next year. We have a lot of time to talk about that, but a very noticeable game from him. Also noticeable from the negative standpoint was Thatcher Demko. I didn't think he didn't have a great game. Obviously, he let in 5 goals. Not all of them were his fault, per se. I think a lot had to do with the team in front of him, playing very uninspired, looking a little tired, looking like they realized that they were out of the playoff race. But still, no excuses. There are a couple goals, I think, maybe 2 or 3, you could argue, Demko could have saved or should have had a better effort in saving. That's kind of the wrong thing. He certainly showed effort last night, but you do need your goalies to make saves, even when they're not supposed to. And I think there are 2 or 3 where Demko would have liked to have back and maybe get a couple of them. So I'm not worried about him. I know a lot of fans are kind of down on him right now. You got to look at some of the starts he's been getting. A lot of times it's been back-to-backs, so the second game of a back-to-back. So that means that his team in front of him probably don't have a lot going all the time. And I know the Canucks are, I've said this many times in these videos, the Canucks management still very high on him, still consider him the goalie of the future. But with Markstrom's emergence this season, that's going to be a very fascinating storyline to watch. Not just the summer, of course, but going forward next year. Next year is Markstrom's last year of his contract. So what kind of, how many games is he going to get? Is he going to be looking for an extension? Will the Canucks be looking to extend him? Or will they be looking to move him because Demko is able to show how good he is next year? So many things to look forward to next year with respect to the goaltending. But speaking of Thatcher Demko, he is one of 8 RFAs on the Canucks roster. RFAs meaning with their contracts expiring this season, at the end of the season. So I know I did a video about this a few months ago, or at least a few weeks ago, because I like to look at this, because this is a big turning point, a big important step in the Canucks' future. What are they going to do with all these restricted free agents? And then, without oversimplifying things, for those of you that are unaware, and I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence, but if you're unaware of the difference between an RFA and a UFA, an unrestricted free agent, an unrestricted free agent is exactly what it sounds like. You can sign with whoever you want to for whatever money you want to, and there's no loss to the Canucks. So Alex Edler is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. He can go wherever he wants. He can re-sign with the Canucks, but he may not. Maybe it wasn't the best example, because we know he's going to re-sign with the Canucks. But that's what a UFA does. An RFA, there's really 2 types. There's the type that are coming out of the entry-level contract, where you're, and then there's the non-entry-level contract RFAs, where in essence the team has the ability to extend what's called a qualifying offer. They have to do that, or they can do that before they actually submit or actually offer the real offer. So basically, a qualifying offer, the team retains the right to negotiate with that player first, and then only if the player does not accept the qualifying offer and/or doesn't take the team to arbitration for a better, for a better contract, then the player can walk. At the same time, the team does not even have to offer a qualifying offer if they don't want. They can let guys walk if they want, and that's another way an RFA then becomes a UFA. So in essence, an RFA, the team generally, you could look at the team holds most of the leverage in that they have the first right of refusal. Let's put it that way. So the Canucks have 8 of those guys: 4 forwards, 3 D-men, and 1 goalie. And we're going to talk about all of them very quickly. The forwards are Boeser, Goldobin, Granlund, and Motte. Boeser, no-brainer. Sign him, extend him. I've done videos about this. With Boeser's recent hot streak, although it ended yesterday. He had a 10-game point streak going. It ended yesterday, obviously, because the Canucks were shut out. Boeser, I think, having a very good season. He started off a little slow, but he's this last little bit gave him some really good numbers, identical numbers to last year. So look for Boeser to get paid. I think he's going to get more than Horvat. He should make more than Eriksson when you think about it. So maybe Boeser gets in the 6 to 6.5 range over 5 or 6 years. I think if the Canucks management are confident and they're assured, they're pretty confident that they know what they have in Brock Boeser, makes sense to sign him long term. So that's a no-brainer. Brock Boeser, we can make videos about his term and the length and the money, all that later. But we know that Brock Boeser will get extended for sure. The other 3 guys, I'm not so sure. You got Tyler Motte, you got Nikolai Goldobin, and Marcus Granlund. Tyler Motte started the season really well. A lot of people were appreciating his hustle plays, his penalty killing, his forechecking. But we've seen in the past, month or two that the shine is kind of dulled off of Tyler Motte. He's been making, having some costly turnovers and maybe not being as effective as he was at the start of the season. Is he a good bottom 6 guy? Or, yeah, not even bottom 6, maybe like bottom 3 guy. He's a good 4th line player. And if he's not going to be expensive, then maybe you sign him to a 1 or 2 year show me deal, so to speak. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Motte comes back. The other 2 forwards, Granlund and Goldobin, I think Granlund, has of those 2 guys has a better chance of coming back because Travis Green does like his versatility. He likes guys who can play up and down the lineup. Especially, and Granlund can play naturally as a center, so he can take draws, or especially if one of our other 4 guys or 5 guys are hurt, i.e. has, Horvat, Pettersson, I guess it would be Gaudette next year, then there's Sutter and Beagle. Actually, technically, that's 5 centers. So I just convinced myself, we don't need Granlund anymore. So I think there's a small chance that Canucks re-sign him, but I could see them, letting Granlund go for sure. We just have a lot of guys like Granlund and Motte, and you can even argue Goldobin. Well, although Goldobin, he's got a better skill set, but a lot of these guys, they're not very effective, and I saw that firsthand last night. And Nikolai Goldobin's the other one. As much as people love his skill and love his potential, there's something there that it's not clicking here. It's not working here, and I highly question whether or not he's going to be part of Travis Green's future, the vision of the way he wants his team to play. So I would not be surprised if Nikolai Goldobin is not offered a contract either. And if he does, it's going to be only 1 or 2 years. It's going to be very short. It's not going to be for a lot of money because he technically hasn't earned it. He had a good start to the season. A lot of those points were playing with Pettersson and Boeser, though, so he hasn't done a lot. In fact, he's been a healthy scratch more often than not. So of the forwards, Boeser is a yes for sure. Motte's a likely to me. Granlund, Goldobin are unlikelies to me to be re-signed. On the blue line, we have Ben Hutton, we have Derek Pouliot, and we have newly signed Josh Teves. Teves is the easy one. The Canucks will sign him, I'm pretty sure, and they'll put him in Utica to start off, and let's see if he works his way up. But yeah, they wouldn't have signed him out of Princeton just to have him play 1 or 2 games this season and then let him go. So let's look for Josh Teves to be re-signed and start the season next year in Utica. Derek Pouliot, I think, is good as gone, especially when you have Quinn Hughes coming in and when you have potentially Ole Levy coming in as well. There's simply no room on the left side. I think Pouliot can play both sides, but I don't see him cracking a top 6 next year of Edler presumably, and Tanev, and Hutton, and Stetcher, and Hughes, and maybe a guy like Schenn or a free agent pickup, and then a Juolevi. So there's no way Pouliot's part of that mix. So I think Pouliot's as good as gone. And then you have Ben Hutton coming off a 3-year contract that actually got him paid after a good rookie season or first 2 seasons. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. Maybe it was just a 2-year contract. Regardless, it's a good contract, and I expect him to be re-signed as well. I don't know for how long. I'm not sure if they're completely sold on Ben Hutton, but he did make massive strides this season after a very disappointing season last year. So Ben Hutton's a yes. I think Pouliot's a no, and Josh Teves is a yes, albeit for Utica. And then you have Thatcher Demko in net. Obviously, the Canucks are going to re-sign him. He's coming off his ELC, so we'll see what Demko gets. And obviously, it's going to be a short contract. I think he hasn't shown enough yet. Canucks management very high on him, as I've been saying, but he simply doesn't have the body work to warrant a long extension. So maybe he gets only 1 or 2 years, maybe a couple years, to at least we know that he's there. If they do not end up signing Markstrom, maybe Demko gets enough playing time next year where they're convinced he is the #1. Whatever it may be, you know, look for Demko to be signed as well. So add it all up, I say there's going to be 4 guys, maybe 5, but 4 guys for sure that the Canucks sign. And that is Brock Boeser, that's Thatcher Demko, that's Ben Hutton, and Josh Teves. Then I put Tyler Motte probably in there 5. That means the 3 guys that I think we're seeing the last days of them in a Canucks uniform: Nikolai Goldobin, Marcus Granlund, and Derek Pouliot. Would love your thoughts, Canucks fans. Those are the ones that I lay out. Would love to hear what you think of those 8 guys. Do you agree with my assessment that's going to be 4 or 5 if you include Motte? Or do you think I'm off my rocker, so to speak, or off the boat? No, off the boat doesn't sound right. Have I missed the boat? Do you think there's going to be more? Do you think there's going to be less? And let me know which guys you want. And if you want, you can even put how much you sign each guy for and for what term. But that's getting into the minutia. Really, I'm really interested to know how many of these RFAs do you think the Canucks will keep of these 8 RFAs. Going to be a busy summer of negotiation, busy summer with the draft, lots to look forward to. But yeah, 1/3 of the roster are indeed on expiring contracts, so we will see what happens. I'm sure we'll talk about the UFAs another time. Leave a comment below. I love to read, react, and reply. Subscribe if you'd like to. Like this video if you'd like to. Off to sunny Las Vegas. Going to hook up with Louie later this week. Check out a Vegas Golden Knights game. Sean's bowling in a tournament. I'll be sending some updates from down there. Maybe not too many massive YouTube updates when I'm down there, but certainly on Twitter as well. So make sure you follow me on there, @CanuckClay on Twitter. Okay, have a great day. Would love to hear your thoughts below. Which RFA should the Canucks keep going forward? God bless, and go Canucks go.